let's do this. Okay, Frozen 2, The Enchanted Forest. It's a little wet because, you know. Adapted by Suzanne Francis. Illustrated by the Disney Storybook Art Team. And published by Random House, New York. Chapter 1. It was early, and the light that came before the sun rose was just beginning to color the sky. The group had been walking through the night and were grateful to see that the new day was about to begin. Elsa carried an ice crystal powered by her magic, and the crystal lit the way as Anna, Kristoff, Olaf, and Sven followed behind her. Olaf yawned, tired from being out all night with his friends. The snowman rode on Sven's antlers. "Are we almost there?" he asked sleepily. "Yes, I think so," said the brawny Kristoff. "The farm should be just a little farther past this bend." Farmer Anders, who knew Kristoff well, had immediately offered his wagon for their journey when he realized it was still not safe for them to return to Arendelle for their own. The group followed the path as it curled around the hills in the cliffs above the village. They paused at the ridge, stopped by the sight of Arendelle, oddly quiet below. The unsettling view sent a shiver down Anna's spine, and she pulled her mother's scarf tightly around her shoulders. In that moment, the young princess was especially grateful to have it. The treasured scarf always seemed to give her a warm wave of comfort. "It's so eerie," said Olaf, staring down at the deserted kingdom. They all agreed. It was strange seeing Arendelle so lifeless. It seemed like only moments before, instead of hours, that an unseen force had driven the terrified villagers out of their homes and up to the cliffs. The villagers could not return until they found out what was going on. Right now, it was far too dangerous. "So is the kingdom still a kingdom without anyone in it?" Olaf asked. "If there's a queen and a princess and a friendly snowman and a reindeer and a guy who talks to rocks and talks for the reindeer, looking at an eerie, empty kingdom, is that still a kingdom? I'm beginning to feel extremely uncertain about it." "Don't worry, Olaf," said Elsa, the queen Olaf had mentioned. "I am going to fix this, and everyone will be able to go home. Arendelle will be just fine." Elsa kept walking, looking out into the distance. She turned to Kristoff. "Is that the farm?" He caught up to her and nodded, letting out a small sigh. "A bit farther than I remember, but yes, that's it." Elsa picked up her pace as they continued along the rocky path. Although she appeared calm, she was eager to get all that she needed and begin their journey. It wasn't only about fixing everything for Arendelle and the kingdom's people. There was also the voice. It had started as a whisper, a single note of song that she could never quite pinpoint. She wasn't sure why, but she was certain she needed to follow the sound of the voice. She didn't hear it at the moment, but she knew she would hear it again. For some reason that she couldn't put words to, she trusted the voice. It had helped her tap into a new part of herself and expand her powers in unexpected ways. She wondered if there was even more for her to discover. It was strange. When the voice had first called to her, Elsa had tried to ignore it. She didn't understand. Why can no one else hear it? She'd thought. Is it possible that it is coming from someone magical like me? None of the explanations she came up with made sense to Elsa, so Elsa tried to convince herself that she imagined hearing it, or that the voice was just inside her head. But it had continued calling to her at unexpected moments, begging her to find it. Earlier that night, the voice had awakened Elsa from her sleep. It had taken her a moment to clear the dreams from her head, but when she sat straight up. Anna was sleeping soundly next to her, so Elsa had been careful as she sneaked out of the room. The voice continued. She followed it down the deserted hallways of the castle and out a back door. It seemed to grow only louder and clearer as her feet touched the ground below the village. Unable to stay silent any longer, Elsa used her powerful voice and answered. She sang a single pure note, and something inside her shifted. She felt a connection to the voice that she had never felt before. Tentatively, Elsa reached out with her magic. Incredible things sprang from her fingertips. She created an entire life-size forest from snow. The deeper into the forest she wandered, the more amazed she became. With every move of her hand and every turn of her wrist, something new appeared. A twirling wind, a salamander, a water house, and giant creatures throwing boulders. Elsa's feet quickened as she followed the creatures that had spun from her magic. She wanted to memorize what they looked like. She also wanted to follow them. She wanted to know where they were going. The deeper she went into the forest of ice, the louder and more urgent the voice got. Elsa knew something was about to happen. But she had gone as far as she could. The deep waters of the fjord stood before her, and she kept her from reaching the voice. Elsa refocused her magic and created a wedge of ice on which she could move out over the fjord. She continued until something told her she had gone far enough. As the voice began to fade, Elsa reached out